Welcome back, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network, and we like to make prop bets and predictions about Notre Dame football. Our season-long competition on the Insider Lounge rewards the first-place subscriber with a free 12 months extension of their subscription, and second place gets 6 free months. There's a thread to submit your picks listed in the video description below, so make sure you check that out if you'd like to participate. We had one push last week with Riley Leonard and Jeremiah Love having the same number of carries, so the best anyone could do in the Stanford game was 4 correct answers. And there's also some folks that aren't very pleased with me that Cedric Irvin didn't see any action like I was in on the plan for him not to play, but we still had 5 people get 4 correct. That's at Jimmy J1, Scott Claracy, BMM2834, Irish sports fan, and the one and only Eric Hansen. Eric, what is the secret to your success?
Looking on Scott Claracy's paper, that's the first time I heard his name this year, but he was like the ringer last year. So
that's right. I think he's starting to heat up. So we got to watch out for Scott. BMM2834 is our first place leader right now. 22 correct prop bets gets you in first place. Eric, you're one behind him at 21 with a couple others. And I am down bad with only 16 so far this season. So I am struggling. So let's see if those trends continue with our prop bets for Notre Dame's road game with Georgia Tech.
Okay.
All right. Our first one is over under 140.5 rushing yards for Georgia Tech.
Well, they've had 616 combined over their past 2 games. Syracuse and Louisville, though, held them down, and those were their losses.
Yeah.
Notre Dame has gotten better in rush defense. I don't know that they've been tested for a while like they did with Ontario Brown, who is still doing good things for Northern Illinois, and they're one of the top rushing teams in the country. Jamal Haynes is really good. He's a smaller back, so you wonder. But I think if Haynes King doesn't play, I think Zach Pyron's going to run the ball a lot, and I also think Georgia Tech will lean into the running game. So I'm stalling. I had said over, and I'm going to stick with my over. I think Georgia Tech gets slightly over that.
All right. I'm going to go with under. Like you mentioned, Georgia Tech was limited against Syracuse, and Louisville didn't even manage 120 rushing yards against those teams in their losses. But then in its 5 wins has hit at least 190 yards. So quite the variance there. They like to run the ball. I'm not sure that they'll have as much success against Notre Dame. Notre Dame hasn't given up that many rushing yards in a game since the Northern Illinois loss. So I'm picking under for Georgia Tech on the rushing yards. All right. Will Notre Dame intercept a pass?
Well, Georgia Tech is number 2 in the country with fewest turnovers lost. They've been intercepted once, and they've had a lost fumble. Zach Pyron's only thrown 7 passes this year. He had 3 interceptions as a true freshman when he played 3 games. So again, it's like if King is playing, that's kind of a different equation. With Ben Morrison not playing, I'm going to say no. Otherwise, I would have said yes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with yes, and we'll see if this evens us out or gets us closer together in the season standings or farther apart.
Or if Scott Claracy and I put you in our rearview mirror for good.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Haynes King's only thrown 1 interception this season, so if he plays, there's a good chance that he doesn't throw another interception. But it also sounds like there's a good chance he doesn't play. So even without Morrison, I still like Notre Dame's chances of picking off Zach Pyron. So that's what led me to a yes.
One thing, too, for me, why I went with no is people haven't pressured them very well. Now, again, with Zach being the quarterback, maybe that's a different case. But, I mean, they've given up 1 sack for 1 yard this year.
Yeah, Haynes King is elusive back there. And their offensive line has done a pretty good job as well. So it's not just Haynes King. So Zach Pyron might be well protected. But maybe Notre Dame can confuse a quarterback with less experience than Haynes King. All right, next up, over under 11.5 carries for Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love.
Well, he had 6 in the last game. You would think that this would be over every week, and I think it would have been over 1 week, right? The
Yeah,
opener.
just the first week. Yep, correct.
Yeah, I'm just between, just kind of looking how North Carolina tried to attack Georgia Tech offensively. Their quarterback ran 13 times, and they don't split their carries the way that Notre Dame does between their different running backs. So I'm going under.
Yeah, I went with under as well. My heart says over. Like, I feel like I've been getting burned on expecting Jeremiyah Love to have more touches or carries than he has had this season. The large workloads just haven't necessarily been there for him. He's gotten to 11, exactly 11 carries 3 times, and then had 14 against A&M. So this number is right around where he normally is. But I'm going to take the under. Maybe he'll get stuck at that 11 number once again. All right, next one. Which team will convert more 4th downs?
Both of them are very good at converting 4th downs. Georgia Tech has more conversions, but only one of these teams is really good at stopping 4th downs, and that's Notre Dame. They're one of the best teams in the country. People have only converted 3 of 15 against them. So based on my advanced math skills, I'm going with Notre Dame here.
Yeah, I'm going with Notre Dame as well. Both teams have only been stopped by their offenses have been stopped on conversion attempts 3 times each. What pushed me in the direction, besides obviously Notre Dame's defense, like you mentioned, is that I'm not sure what Notre Dame's field goal situation is going to be, and that may lead to an extra conversion attempt or 2. So I'm going to pick Notre Dame in terms of converting more for 4th downs. All right, next, speaking of field goals, will Notre Dame attempt a field goal?
Well, I almost contradicted myself here because I wanted to say yes, and my score prediction doesn't allow that unless there's multiple safeties that add up to the score. So I'm going to say no to be consistent with my final score prediction.
Yeah, that's what I did. My thought was the same thing. I was like, well, I calculated one into my final score, so it'd be silly to say no. So I'm going with yes. I don't know if it'll be Mitch Jeter, Zach Yoakum, or Marcello Diomede. I think someone in a Notre Dame uniform will make a field goal and attempt a field goal, so I'm going with yes. All right, our fun one for the week. Will the roof of Mercedes-Benz Stadium be opened or closed during the game?
Well, unless the Georgia Tech media is a bunch of big fat liars, it's going to be open. So I'm saying it's open. I'll go with their reporting.
They've confirmed it, or the last I heard that there were whispers that it may be. I hadn't seen that they had said.
Well, I'm going third hand. Darren Pritchett, my radio partner, told me that they've out and out reported that it's going to be open. So unless he's exaggerating, then I've been led astray. Right, I should have asked Marie from Atlanta.
Well, on our stake list bet of the week, let Darren know if you get it wrong, then he's got something to pay for that.
Then he needs to give me a stake.
That's right. All right, last one. Final score prediction for Notre Dame, Georgia Tech.
I think Notre Dame's offense is really moving in the right direction. I think Georgia Tech's defense is more of a challenge. Their weaknesses and strengths are similar to Stanford. I just think they do it kind of industrial strength. So I'm going Notre Dame 28, Georgia Tech 17.
All right. Well, the difference between our scores may be that field goal attempt, because I have Notre Dame 31, Georgia Tech 17. So we'll see if the field goal is the difference between our score predictions. And whether or not Notre Dame can hang on there. I think it might be a pretty tight game. I think Notre Dame may score late in the 4th quarter, at some point in the 4th quarter, to sort of put the game away. I think this Georgia Tech team is tough. Certainly, it's not coming into the game in a good situation if Haynes King can't play. But I expect them to have a pretty strong effort against the Irish on Saturday. Well, all right, that is it for Place Your Bets. Best of luck with your predictions. Enjoy another Saturday of college football, and we will talk to you after the game.